On a rainy August day in 1750, an old and shabby ship called the Duke of Argyll set sail from the port of Liverpool. John Newton, the ship's captain, was starting a 14-month journey which would take him to Africa, the West Indies, and back to Britain. 8 weeks after leaving Liverpool with the West African coast in sight, the crew began to prepare the ship for its cargo: slaves. For the next 6 months, the Duke of Argyll sailed up and down the West African coast, slowly filling its holds with slaves. It would work like this. African traders kidnapped people from villages up to hundreds of kilometers inland. They marched them to the coast where European slave merchants like John Newton bought the slaves. As demand for slaves grew, some African kings fought wars against other tribes in order to supply the African traders and meet the European demand. By the end of 1751, the Duke of Argyll was packed with slaves and set sail for a group of islands known for its sugar plantations called the West Indies. John Newton, in his diary that night, wrote fondly of his wife. As he did so, beneath his feet and the bottom of the ship were hundreds of Africans chained and stacked in the dark and airless cargo spaces. These people had lost their freedom and had been forced from their homeland. They would never see their families again. Conditions on the slave ships were appalling. The slaves were stacked on shelves. They were chained in twos at their hands and feet, making it difficult to move or turn without hurting themselves. A shared bucket was used for a toilet. The stench was unbearable. Many died from diseases such as dysentery. When slaves died, they were fed to the sharks. The situation was so miserable, many slaves would kill themselves by refusing to eat, or by jumping overboard if they had the chance. Others protested and attempted to overthrow their imprisoners. When John Newton finally arrived in the West Indies, the slaves were sold at an auction. He then gathered as much sugar as he could and sailed back to England. The process of going from England to Africa to the West Indies was known as the triangular slave trade. The triangular slave trade saw the deaths of 2 million Africans during their journey to the West Indies and is one of history's most horrific atrocities.